Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm talking about something different. I haven't done a natal aspect in a little while. I've been predominantly focused on synastry, but I also do natal aspects, so you can request natal aspects to me too in the comments, you guys. Um, this video we're going to talk about natal Saturn square Pluto. This was requested. This is a very interesting, intense aspect. So let's get right into it. So, when we have our natal Saturn squaring Pluto, we are a very intense individual. Saturn Pluto aspects, actually, all the aspects, denote a pretty high level of anxiety. The square probably being at the highest level, we can see a lot of anxiety because there's something coming from our early childhood messages that we just don't feel totally safe and secure in this world. So there can be a parent that was overpowering or dominant, and then us as an individual, we have this deep desire to like rebel against authority, um, or at least the type of authority that we feel is trying to inhibit us or control our expression. So there's a high level of like fighting with this aspect, and like it really creates a person that can withstand a lot, and there does tend to be a lot to withstand. So this is not a boring lifetime. This is a pretty exciting lifetime. You could say that this aspect shows karma. I would say that Saturn squares, definitely because Saturn is a karmic energy in our natal chart, can show something from a previous lifetime that's being carried over. So, with this aspect, it's going to be issues related to our ego and power and control. So, with this aspect, we really have a deep desire to feel powerful, and usually it is coming from a deep feeling of powerlessness. And that is where the root of this anxiety can come from. It's that we just feel, um, yeah, like our efforts are just never enough and we have to try so hard. So, what actually ends up happening is like the amount of effort that you put into something, because you have so much willpower, you have so much, yeah, so much strength and fortitude with this aspect. You can actually end up becoming very successful in a wide variety of avenues because there's just so much staying power, there's so much energy towards success. And on the negative side, we can see some ruthlessness as well with this aspect. This could be an aspect that would show up in someone in business that will do whatever it takes to get to the top, will step on anybody to get to the top, and can be a bit cruel too. There can be some cruelty. Now, also, what could happen is that this is the past life pattern, and in this lifetime, you have the choice to come from your heart and do what is right. Because here's the thing with Saturn, whatever we do that accumulates bad karma for us, we are going to have to face. So, usually the person with this aspect is going to realize pretty quickly the ramifications of their actions that were maybe less than honorable. So there's learning around these kind of things, cause and effect, karma, and good karma versus bad karma. And these people can realize pretty quickly that when they act for purely selfish reasons, or they overpower others, or step on others, or act cold or ruthless towards others, they end up meeting a lot of challenges. And this aspect can also show a lot of unsuccessful endeavors, like where we have our ego too attached to a certain thing that we're doing, and then we actually, our ego has to be brought down a notch. And this aspect can show a lot of crisis of the ego, being just completely like decimated. um, there can be a lot of falls from grace, a lot of pain to our ego, which usually with this aspect, there's a high level of ego to be pained. So, what ends up happening over the course of a lifetime with this aspect is that we get humbled. And what ends up happening with that is that we start understanding, like I said, this karmic law. And then from that place, when we start living in integrity with our Saturn, um, because when we're not living in integrity with our Saturn, that's when we get the karmic backlash. When we start really embodying the higher side of our Saturn, which could come after our Saturn return or even after our second Saturn return in some cases, we can end up reaping the rewards of this aspect and getting the good out of it. But it does usually show a lot of challenges if you have this aspect. I mean, Pluto squares in general, or Saturn squares in general, like it's really almost unavoidable. We're going to have challenges in our life, right? But with this one, once we realize that karmic energy, and we really, you can go watch my video on your Saturn sign placement. Once we're honoring that, while at the same time honoring our Pluto's transformative force and our compulsion, our compulsive need to obsess about that Plutonic thing, whatever our Pluto sign is, when we can figure out what those are and like integrate them and act in integrity, we can end up using the good of this aspect, which is the willpower, the strength, like the ability to never take no for an answer and just keep going and going and going. This is an active lifetime. This is a person with a lot of energy, and that anxiety, that compulsiveness, that obsessiveness, this can be a little bit OCD. We can use that focus and that perseverance to accomplish many, many things. So while we may have many failures in our lifetime or many course corrections or changes of our life path, we can see with this aspect, we can also have just as many successes to build on. And there's a lot of leadership ability with this aspect. And, the funny thing of like where the actual good, true leadership will come from is from those times when our ego was brought down a notch and we were feeling like we were just nothing and trampled on the floor and failures and just those big ego deaths, right? From that place, when we do decide, okay, I'm going to dust myself off again and get back up and go here, that's when the true leadership is born, because this person, through being humbled, can learn how to really be a true leader for others, a leader that brings others up with them rather than, stepping on them to get to their desired outcome. This person can actually end up really being that leader that is for others, not just for themselves. And so that's one of the big challenges with this aspect is learning how to be for everybody, not just for your own interests. And yeah, that's where the true leadership will come in, is when they can understand that this life, is about helping others, right? And it's not just about your own egoic pursuits. Um, yeah, there's just so much to unpack here with this natal aspect. Um, I still have lots more to say about it, and I want to be the most helpful possible. I don't want to seem too too harsh on you guys, because that's the other thing with this aspect, is that it can be really hard to take a criticism. And so I don't want you to think I'm criticizing you in any way. I actually think that this aspect would show up in the chart of someone who is a very old soul coming to learn very important lessons about the ego and power, and being a true leader that is with others, and not just for themselves. So it's kind of like, in a sense, a big lifetime, and Saturn can also show the structure of our lives, right? Like Saturn's a lot to do with, it can show a parental figure, right? It can show the structure in our lives, it shows our karma. So there's an element of this aspect where um, we're breaking down societal structures, or collective structures, or familial patterns that we've inherited, that are no longer serving us and no longer serving the collective. So this is the kind of person that can go into a field of work or a family line, and just shake things up, because they do have this resistance to following the status quo. They can reject the authority of others, but that rejection of authority can be for good reason, because there is this element of like breaking down structures with a Saturn square Pluto natal aspect. That Pluto is not going to allow you to exist in something that is unhealthy for very long. You're going to have a breakdown, and that breakdown can lead to a breakthrough. There was something really interesting that was said in one of my books about this aspect, that it was talking about the line between genius and madness, and how people with this aspect, and forgive me, I forget what book this was, I could maybe find it after, but it was like, with this aspect, it's like they have to go mad in order to access that genius, right? And so that is a part of this aspect, is like breaking down, maybe having a mental breakdown, but then it leads you to the growth or the genius that inevitably comes through that loss of structure. So this aspect was even correlated to having periodic insanity bouts, which was kind of funny to me, because I don't think that it has to be that extreme, you guys. But it definitely could. So what else? Also, in my books, it says that this aspect is representative of a person who does very well working alone, right? Researching, studying obsessively, whatever it is. And that can lead you to great success, right? So even though, I feel like in this lifetime you're meant to help others, and you're meant to like be a leader for others, a lot of your best work will be done alone, and can be done researching. I think even they mentioned like science, or kind of behind the scenes things can be a focus with this aspect. So that's another one of its gifts, is that ability to be alone and stand alone. And probably that a lot of that comes from that feeling of like not belonging, or rejection of the status quo, rejection of the authority figures early in life. So ultimately, people with this aspect will have to overcome things of a lower human nature, desire for power, lust, greed, possessiveness, insecurity, jealousy, powerlessness, anxiety, obsessiveness. Um, these are things that you will have a chance to transform in this lifetime. Something that can be really valuable for people with this aspect is just recognizing where true power really comes from. So, of course, this would be better if you have a bit of a spiritual orientation, or a connection to something outside yourself. Not saying that you are not powerful, but recognizing that true power comes from source or God or spirit or soul or some universal force, and not just your own ego or your own actions. And this can help the Saturn person, the Saturn square Pluto person, really like give up the small ego and like surrender to the divine will, to something higher. And also, this can help let go of like some of the obsessiveness or some of the like overpowering determination to get somewhere, or that ruthlessness to achieve. This aspect can be incredibly hard on themselves, right? And recognizing that, yeah, this true power is coming from a spiritual place. This, your place in the world is not something you have to get to all by yourself. Like, what if you were supported? Maybe if you didn't feel supported by your, early family life or upbringing, you can feel supported by God or source or spirit, something higher, and then you can relax a little bit and know that you are enough. You will always be enough no matter what you do or don't do. But of course, it is important to reap what you sow with this aspect, because, like I said, um, the karmic challenges will come up. Like, if you act in ways that are not good, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that. So, as long as you're acting in integrity, you can relax, you can let go, you can trust, and know that, yeah, like, you are powerful, you have amazing leadership abilities, you really can accomplish probably more than anybody else that doesn't have this aspect, because they just don't have that drive that you have. So there's a lot of good with it, but you can do well to just relax a little bit. This aspect is, and all the Saturn Pluto aspects, actually, specifically the hard aspects though, it's the image coming to me, it's like, just, yeah, tightly wound up, or like a tight ass, right? So relax your anus. No. Yeah, any type of like relaxing yoga or meditation would be really favorable with this aspect. And also, like I said, understanding where true power really comes from, if you can have that spiritual connection, that would really be helpful as well. So I hope this was helpful. There's so much here to unpack with this natal aspect, and I really appreciate you guys watching this, requesting this. Let me know any more requests in the comments. Keep them coming. And yeah, let me know your experience living with this aspect, if you have it, or if you know someone that has it. I'd love to know if this was accurate or not accurate. Let me know in the comments, you guys, and thanks for watching. Bye.